Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Monday Night Must See TV with the Hudson Valley Squares. We've got some regulars here and some other folks from other shows on the channel that are filling in for the squares that can't make it. So who have we got here? We got Sydney Taylor. We've got from the Monsters Den, Jamie Laszlo and Craig Kaminsky, who's also our center square today. We've got Ryan Scow, Chris Canzaneri, and Chris Sallow. We got the double shot of Chris is flanking me tonight. So this particular episode, the topic is all about bands we love. And specifically, I asked everybody to pick their 3 favorite bands of all time and come up with one song from each that they really don't like much at all. So your favorite band, least favorite song by them. It's ladies first, of course. So Sydney, why don't you kick us off with your first selection of the day?
The first selection. Okay. So it's just one for right now. They're going to go around. Okay,
Yep.
Cool. So it was easy for me, the first one that I thought of. The other 2 bands were a little bit harder, but naturally the first person I'm going to pick as my all-time favorite is Alice Cooper. Everyone at this point is very, very familiar with the fact that he is my favorite. And I've discussed this with Pete on the channel before, but he has a period of albums in the early 80s that to me are just... A lot of diehard fans say that they love the Blackout albums. I'm just not Craig, that is great. I'm so happy that you enjoy them. I've tried. I like Flush the Fashion and probably Dada the best. I'm not a huge Zipper Catches Skin fan or Special Forces fan. There are a couple songs here and there that I dig, but very few and far between. But one song that always comes up that I see people love is a song called Zorro's Ascent. And I just can't get into it. Like, it is one of those songs that the diehard fans, like my fellow Alice diehards, just love. And it always comes up. Remember, I did like a top 25 ranking, and like a year ago, I posted my top 20 favorite Alice Cooper songs. And it's one that always gets commented. And it's those albums and that song just has no cohesion. I love Alice with my whole heart, but he doesn't even remember recording those albums. He doesn't remember writing the songs. He was so just far out of his mind at that point. And he himself is even shocked that people actually enjoy those albums. He brings it up. He's like, I don't know. So that was the first one that automatically came to my mind. I mean, you could probably pick any songs from all like that period of albums, and I'd probably be like, yeah, it's not for me. But Zorro's Ascent is the first one I thought of.
You know, it's funny. I think the folks who like, because it's like with every band, it's like, you have the masses who will say, okay, this album, these songs are probably the worst they ever did. But then you'll have like this small group of fans like, that's the best thing they ever did. So the folks who always defend those albums, well, specific, and I don't dislike those albums. They're not nearly my favorites. They're at the bottom of the rung. But I think like the folks who proclaim that that's like the best stuff that Alice ever did are probably the same people who listen to Nostradamus and Never Say Die and all these other albums that we're constantly, bringing up here on the channel, right? So
I've really tried. Like, I've tried numerous times. I sit down. I own all of them on vinyl, even though I don't listen to them. You know, I got the Chris Allo thing going on where I have to have them, just so I can have them. Like, I have Zipper Catches sealed. I have it sealed. I've no urge to open it, but I can't. I've tried. I love Alice with everything in me, that like, if I really just don't vibe with them, I just don't, I've
can't love everything, right?
Yeah, it's hard.
No, well, that's what this episode is all about. So Jamie Laszlo.
Now I have that song stuck in my head. Diablo. El Diablo.
All right, Jamie.
All right. My number 1 and 2 favorite bands are pretty cemented in for most of my life. Number 3, I got about 30 bands that would fit into number 3. So I didn't know where to go. I figured I'd keep it hard rock, metal-ish. And I wanted to pick a band that no one else would probably pick. And many times this is my 3rd favorite band. I'm going to go with Soundgarden. And the thing is with these bands, these 90s bands, in the 90s, the Soundgardens, the Pearl Jams, the Smashing Pumpkins, they would all release CD singles. And on those singles would be, these are all CD singles, and every band did it. and there'd be another 3 or 4 or 5 songs on here that weren't on other albums. And, you know, Pearl Jam, they actually made a whole double disc called Lost Dogs, which were all the songs on these kind of singles. I know there's not many Pearl Jam fans here, but I'm just trying to explain.
What makes you think that?
What do you mean?
I like Pearl Jam, so
Me
There
too.
you go.
I love
Say it loud, say it proud. So
Muffins or whatever the fuck.
Super Unknown, the single for Super Unknown, had a song on it called Jerry Garcia's Finger. And it's also on this big deluxe 20th anniversary version of Super Unknown with Blu-ray 5.1 surround sound of the album and all the B-side, even though I like the original better than this remastered. But Jerry's Garcia's Finger is kind of a waste of time. It's just noise. It's 4 minutes of them noodling around, and you know, it's kind of like if you were stoned, maybe you can get lost in it for a little bit, but it has no structure. I barely call it a song. It's something you listen to once and you go, that was interesting, and never go back to. So yeah, Jerry Garcia, I guess, you know, naming it after Jerry Garcia and trying to make it a little trippy like the Dead was the thought behind it, but it's nothing you listen to more than once. So there you go.
I like Soundgarden. I've never heard that song, so I'm going to take your advice and not bother going to listen to it.
You might find it interesting though, because you kind of like that kind of heresy, you know, by Universal Zero, but it's not as good as that, but it's trying to be something like that.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll check it out. Cool. All right, Craig.
All right, one of my probably my favorite band. This was kind of hard for me just to figure out my 3 favorite bands, but then finding the songs that I don't like by them was not that difficult. But probably my favorite band is Deep Purple, and although I want to make a clear delineation of this, as I was going through their catalog, there's songs from them that that are not my favorite, but I don't think there's any song from them that I hate that I just absolutely despise and don't want to hear. So for example, like I do not like their latest covers album, but I'm not going to count that. I mean, I don't care for it, but it's not something that I despise. So, and again, these are strictly my opinion. But one of the main offshoot bands of Deep Purple is Rainbow, and I love all eras of Rainbow. So I'm not one of these people that, you know, I don't like the Joe and Turner albums or whatever. I happen to like all 3 of those. However, on Long Live Rock and Roll, which is a great album, the very last song on this album is a song called Rainbow Eyes that I hate. I despise. And there are for 3 reasons why. 1, Ronnie sings like a chick on this, and Ronnie should not sing like a chick. Ronnie is awesome, and I cannot hear him crooning as he does on this song. 2, I was saying to a buddy of mine earlier this morning, I had said, I said you got, when I was giving him the reasons, I said, you have some asshole playing flute and recorder on this. That's not correct. There are 2 separate assholes who are playing flute and recorder on this. When I went back to read the liner notes, and not only that, there is a violin and there's like a whole orchestra of shit on this on this song. And third, this song, Rainbow has, or at least had, in the 70s, one of the best drummers ever, and there is not one drum beat on this song. So they basically said to Cozy Powell, you know what, take the day off. We don't need you for this song. So it's just, I hate this song so much, and it's the longest goddamn song on the album, longer than Gates of Babylon. So I just, and it's tacked on at the end. So it's like every song is a strong rocker. I mean, you can go through it and it's like, oh, Kill the King, you know, the Shed has I'm like a freight train, feeling no pain, you know, great song. Sensitive to Light, wonderful song. Then you get the Rainbow Eyes, and it's just this symphonic sack of shit that I hate.
Chris can't take any more bashing than Dio.
It's a great record, and then Craig's like, I covered that song, and I'm putting my head right in the noose.
As far as I'm concerned, the album ends at song 7 at Sensitive to Light. Just cut it off. You don't need it. So that's my number 1 pick for tonight. Rainbow Eyes.
It's an awful way to end a record. Awful.
Yes. And awful way to end Ronnie's career with Rainbow, because that's the last studio song that he recorded with them. Or I don't know if in what order that it was recorded, but it's the last one. The next album is Down to Earth with Graham Bonnet. So it's just an awful way to cap off his wonderful 3 studio album run with Rainbow with such a shitter of a song.
Well, Ronnie, all I'm going to say is I think Ronnie liked it, right? Because didn't Glenn Hughes sing it at his funeral?
Yeah.
So,
you know what? I don't care. I hate
listen, he's wrong. Craig is right. So F him.
This is strictly one guy's opinion that I hate that fucking song.
All right.
So
symphonic stack of shit. That is going as like I'm putting that down somewhere, like in my phrase bank.
Well, when it's held up to the rest of the album, it's just it sticks out like a sore thumb. It just doesn't belong there. I hate it.
It doesn't fit at all. It's a very out of place.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right then, Ryan.
All right, so this was tough for me. I had a cop out, which I'll get to later. But when you say top 3 bands of all time, there's probably like 20 bands that interchangeably kind of move around in that. But I'll go with 3 of the ones that I always kind of stick with. So I'd say for all 3 of these cases, I'll do one at a time. All 3 of these cases, I think this is the worst album by the respective bands. I don't hate the albums. I still listen to the albums, but it's the placement on the album. It's like, you might have a good song or two, and then that song hits, and it's like, oh, okay. So I'll go with the obvious one first. I don't think anyone's going to argue with me on this. The worst Iron Maiden album is Virtual 11. X Factor, I kind of liked. I thought it's darker tone. I thought the writing fit Blaze's voice. Obviously, it's no patch on the Paul or Bruce years, but I don't know. I thought it was a good album. I'm still glad they occasionally trot 1 or 2 of those songs out live to present day. But at this album, I thought they kind of went like, oh, let's play like the stuff we did with in the late 80s with Bruce again. And it didn't fit Blaze's voice at all. And a lot of the tracks, it seemed like he was really struggling to just kind of do whatever Steve was kind of, I guess, prodding him to do. But it's got a couple songs on it I don't mind. But the second song, Angel and the Gambler, it's almost 10 minutes long. It feels like it's about 6 months long. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. And unlike, say, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner or some of their other famous long tracks, Alexander the Great, where Hallowed Be Thy Name, when they close the album out with the song, so it's like a good, strong finish. Steve, because I'm assuming it was Steve's decision, says, I'm going to put this song at number 2. So it opens with Futuria, which is a silly track, and the lyrics are fucking ridiculous, but it's fun. It's not a bad song. And then out comes this track, and by the time it's done, you're like, I don't think I want to listen to the rest of this album, because I just spent 28 fucking years listening to this Angel and the Gambler, and it's a terrible fucking song. But the fact that it's so long, it's just repetitive, and it's the second track on the album, which is not a great album to begin with. And I'm probably going to be alone in saying I listened to the album at all, or the fact that I even own it. Although, like you said, Sydney and Chris, you got one, you got to collect them all. So
I have at least 2 copies, and I saw them on that tour, and I walked out because the show sucks so bad.
I don't have it on vinyl though. I only own it on CD, so I did draw the line on that. This is the only copy I own, and I love Iron Maiden to death. But yeah, my first choice is Angel and the Gambler, and it's not like the album's full of hits after that. You know, there's only a couple songs that I return to, but I listened to that song specifically for this show. I listened to it twice, and both times it was like going to the dentist. It just sucked. It's a terrible. And I feel shitty saying that about Iron Maiden. Like Steve's going to appear in the corner, like, you know, disproving, wagging his finger at me. But it's a terrible fucking song. So my first choice is Angel and the Gambler, Iron Maiden. They never brought it back. In fact, I don't think they've ever brought anything from this album back into. No, The Klansman. They did. Sorry, I was misspoken. The Klansman is a great song, and it sounds cool with Bruce, and the Rock and Rio version is awesome. And we've discussed that in the past, and I think Nick's hit on that too. So, but you got to listen to Angel and the Gambler first to get to that if you're listening to vinyl. So maybe that's why I only stuck with the CD version. And Nick gave me his choices too, so I'll pick his real quick. So he said his first choice was he also picked an Iron Maiden song, and I told him he was on fucking crack for picking this one because it's a great Iron Maiden song, and I disagree. But this is Nick's choice, and it was Quest for Fire from Peace of Mind, which is a great album, but he doesn't like the vocal arrangements. All right, whatever. And he specifically said, and I was texting him before, he's like, I don't like the fact that the song Quest for Fire, it has dinosaurs and man existing at the same time. It's historically inaccurate. I'm like, who gives a fuck? That's just, you know, that's what he told me. So he picked Quest for Fire from Peace of Mind. And as a good friend of his, I'm allowed to say he's wrong, but that's his choice. So there you go.
I would think most people pick that as their least favorite song from that album, right? Whether it's
I like
terrible.
it. Yeah, and that album's got,
but not least favorite overall.
Right.
Yeah, that album's got great songs. So obviously, you know, there's better songs. I'll agree, but yeah, whatever. That was his choice, and he was adamant.
Angel and the Gambler is definitely worse than Quest for Fire. But Quest for
like,
Fire still sucks.
This is just a Maiden song. I'm picking. I'm going with Quest for Fire. I'm like, there's nothing on from the Blaze years or newer albums. Nope.
Right.
Quest for Fire. Okay, all right. So that was his choice.
Right. All right, Cans, you're up next.
Okay, this one was hard for me too. I'm not sure I have 3 top bands of all time that I could just rattle off 1, 2, 3. So these bands that I picked, I found it was easier to pick a hateable song and go with a band than to pick a band I loved and find a song that I didn't really dig. So these are 3 of my favorite bands of all time and the songs that I hate the most. Number 3 is Black Chat by Queen. It's from that album Hot Space, which was kind of a mistake all the way through. I think they kind of lost their way there. This particular song, you know, they were like, all right, it's the 80s and we've got to start doing 80s things like having synthesizer drum solos and just, you know, it's just so 80s in so many ways. And the chorus is just so repetitive and stupid. And then, you know, Brian May shows up and does a killer guitar solo, you know, and he just can't save this shitty song.
No.
And I feel like they were all in the studio doing their thing, and Brian walks in, he's like, oh, all right, you know, here's this. The rest of this shit is your problem. I'm leaving. So Black Chat by Queen off an album full of stinkers, but that's the first one I'm going with.
That is a bad song. That is a bad album.
Yeah.
No good. No good. All right, Mr. Allo.
How many of these were we doing?
One song from each band.
Just one. Okay, so 3. Okay. All right. My first one, this was pretty easy. My all-time favorite band is Black Sabbath, but I have no problem admitting that they have quite a few songs that suck. But the first song I can say that I absolutely fucking hate, and every time it comes up, I gotta hit skip. And thank God they only played this live like twice, Japan in the 90s. It's Changes from Volume 4. I cannot fucking stand that song. You know, I guess there was a lot of drugs involved in you know, when they were doing this record. I mean, I always felt, you know, my personal, as far as the original Sabbath era, the first 3 were magic. I know Volume 4 is Pete's favorite Sabbath record, but for me, Volume 4 is where they started to, you know, the wheels started to come off slightly, like with fucking around on that song FX, just jerking off. I'm like, what the fuck is that? But Changes, man. When Ozzy's like, I don't even know how's the song start again? I don't even know. And he's just like,
I feel unhappy.
Oh, that's right. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling sad. I'm like, oh my God, dude, you're fucking crying about your wife who you've been fucking banging whores for fucking years while you're in this band. Like, shut the fuck up. That stupid piano, it just sucks. I mean,
It does.
you know, outside of
I agree.
FX Changes, you know, Volume 4 is a good record, but those two songs
Great record. It's a fucking awesome record.
drive me.
And
Well,
I agree.
I prefer the first three over Volume 4 myself, but yeah, Changes just.
Do you remember?
The thing is with Changes, it's the turd burger between two buns of steel, because you've got Tomorrow's Dream and then Supernaut. You know,
Also.
I mean, because FX kind of goes right into Supernaut, so it's just it's sandwiched in, but it's a shit burger between two buns of steel. So and that was
Greg's had a lot of coffee tonight because he's fucking on it.
that was one of my picks.
What Craig said. I can't fucking stand that song.
And he caps it,
cover
and it's the last song on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he cover it with his daughter? With Kelly?
Yeah,
God,
he covered it with his
it's
daughter in the
fucking awful.
90s.
I mean, holy
It
Christ.
follows the Black Sabbath, the reunion song, you know, with the original guys. It's like, oh, that's so great. That's such a great way to end the album. No, Changes is the last fucking song on it.
Is that the one with his daughter?
No, this is Live and Loud from the No More Tears tour.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But,
I
yeah,
totally
it's a shitter.
forgot that cover existed with his daughter until you
Yeah.
reminded me.
Yeah.
What was that? Oh,
And it was a hit.
it was. It was you.
Are we really gonna act like Kelly Osbourne's like a singer? Like, what's
Oh
going
my
on here?
God. It was
I
like
don't know.
dental surgery.
Terrible.
Sucked.
Horrible stuff. Well,
they
I'm going to
did it
stay on
in-
Black
in-
Sabbath here. So
Yeah.
I agree with Chris. Black Sabbath, you know, one of my top two favorite bands of all time. They do have their share of sucky songs. My first instinct was exactly to go with Changes. I was like, that seems really obvious. So I decided not to do that, plus because I had a feeling you were going to do it. Then I was like, well, I kind of want to pick She's Gone from Technical Ecstasy, because I don't like that one either. But then I'm like, he's just picking on the slow, mellow songs. I'm like, all right, I don't want to do that. I could have picked 3, 4, 5 songs from Never Say Die. I said that would be expected of me, so I'm not going to do that either. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick Rusty Angels from Forbidden. And no, that's not the song with Ice-T on it. I wanted to pick that too, but then he's just picking on the song with the rapper on it, right? So I didn't want to go that route. So I picked Rusty Angels. Now I'll tell you why I don't like Rusty Angels. I think if it was anybody other than Black Sabbath with that song, I'd be like, this is okay. But listen to that song. Everybody watching, go and listen to Rusty Angels from this album. It sounds like a Dokken song. And I like Dokken, but I don't want to hear Black Sabbath sounding like Dokken. The guitars sound like Dokken. Tony Martin singing like Don Dokken on it. The whole thing is just this kind of like, it just sounds like Just Got Lucky or something like that, which is fine. I like that stuff. I don't want Black Sabbath to sound like that. So Rusty Angels from Forbidden is my first choice for tonight.
All right.
Interesting.
You could have picked anything off or Forbidden or anything off of Never Say Die, and you wouldn't be wrong, that's for sure.
Yeah. Although I tell you, I was listening to Kiss of Death. That's actually pretty good. That's
There's
not
a couple songs on there that ain't that awful.
Yeah, there's a couple that are pretty good on here. You know, half of it.
I like pieces of some of the songs, but
Yeah,
Air
they're
Dan.
yeah.
I love Air Dan. I'll put that out there. That's it.
All right, Sydney, back to you.
Okay. So this one came to my mind last minute today because I was struggling, but I was like, this just makes sense because I always, whenever the song comes on, I'm like, so one of my all-time favorite bands, although I don't mention them like as much as I probably should on here, I love Tesla. Tesla's one of my favorites. Great Radio Controversy is one of my favorite albums ever. The song that they seem to be most known for is their cover of Signs. I hate that song. I'm going to get shit for that maybe from people who like Tesla, but like they have so many other great songs. How that one version from, and it's a cover by 5-man electrical band first, and then they did it, and it got famous because of their 5-man acoustical jam that they did at the Troc here in Philly. And the fact that that one song is the one song that gets played by them, and it's like exclusively the only song that gets played by that, you know, on rock radio and stuff, or just in general, it pisses me off because there's so many other great songs. And it's not that they do a bad job, but it's just like, I don't know, like, it's just nothing special to me. I listen to it, and every time it comes on, I'm like, man, you couldn't pick any other fucking song. Like, I don't know. I can't get with it. It seems to be a big hit, I guess, because people keep playing it. And I love Tesla so much, but it's like the fact that their most popular song is a cover, like that's what most people know them for, is doing that cover. I don't know. It's just
heartbreaking.
Yeah. I just, and every time it comes on without fail, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
And that's a band that has so
although-
many great songs. Yeah, I agree with you.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, on all of those albums, Great Radio Controversy, Mechanical Resonance, Psychotic Supper, like so many great songs, so many great albums. And it's like, you picked the one cover song that they did at a live show one time to be the song that everybody cares about. And I mean, maybe I guess I'm cheating a little bit because it's not technically their song, but I don't know. Whoever
Once it becomes a hit, it's not cheating.
Yeah, it's just I can't get with it. So that's my number 2.
There you
I
go.
hate it too.
Cool. I don't like it either.
Thanks, Craig.
All right, Jamie.
All right, I am going to agree with Ryan. I am going right to that album. And
Nice.
I also am picking The Angel and the Gambler.
Don't be nice to it.
Oh, I'm going to tear this motherfucker apart. I listened to this song 4 times today. 4 times. God, that's 10 minutes times 4. You do the math.
An hour
Why
of
did I-
regret in your life.
Why did I
Don't
listen
get
to it
back.
4 times? You might ask. First time, just to make sure it's my least favorite. But I'm like, I'm going to listen to it again and count how many times he says, don't you think I'm a saver? Don't you think I could save you? Don't you think I can save your life? I'm going to count it. And I
Like
did.
3 million times.
It's 22 times.
Wow.
And then I listened to it a third
Shit.
time. Why a third time? Because I thought I missed a few. There has to be more than 22. Listened again, and it was 22. But here's the thing. I want to do the math. I suck at math, but I'm all right at Maiden math. So what we got here is he's saying 3 lines 22 times in this song. Now, hold on. That's 66 lines. If you times, because it's 3 lines, right? Times it 22 by 3, and that is 66. That is 66 lines consisting one of the 3 repeated lines up here. Now, the whole song, there are, if you count the other lines that aren't these 3 lines, it's 60. So that means there is 126 lines in this song, and 66 of them are these 3 lines, one of those 3. So if you do the math, that is 52% of the lyrics to this song are these 3 lines.
Math lesson here on See Trick.
More like
Hold on.
Abbott and Costello list. This is like Abbott and Costello's list, right?
Now, hold on. Let's talk about just the time in the song. The song is 9 minutes and 51 seconds, all right? And I then listened to this song a 4th time, and I timed on the clock or on my CD player how the time he says those 3 lines. They spend 4 minutes and 28 seconds saying these 3 lines. You do the math, that is 45% of this song, including guitar solos, downtime, intros, outros, all that bullshit. 45% of the time, he's saying these 3 lines in this song. That's why it sucks.
That is scientifically proven that it's a shit song.
Right there in black and white.
That's funny as hell.
You could have saved yourself the
Wow.
time and just kicked yourself in the balls after the 3rd time you heard it. I mean, and why go to number 4?
I like to torture myself,
I guess.
That's
and I
sick.
like to do bits.
That's great.
Correct.
Jamie
I like
never
to do
disappoints.
Is it a saver or a savior?
Oh, that was great. All right, Craig, back to you.
All right. Chris actually took my changes. That was one of the first ones that I thought of, but as Pete said, it's an easy target. So luckily I have some backups, but I love AC/DC, and as people always say, oh, they recorded the same album 18 times or whatever. But even when I heard this song as a kid, I didn't like it, and I thought it was stupid. And now hearing it as an adult, I choose not to hear it because I despise this song. The song is "Big Balls" from Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. I just think it's just a stupid fucking song. It's funny when you're like 12, but when you get a little older, you just realize how stupid the song is. And there's 8 other decent songs on this album to listen to, and you can just skip track 3. So this is, I never liked it. Just thought it was an idiotic song. Double entendre, and all. So my pick is for Big Balls.
It's a symphonic shitbag.
Well, there's no symphony of suck, but
okay,
these balls suck.
You didn't laugh at it when you were 13?
You know what? Maybe the first time I heard it, or you're laughing because your friends are laughing too. But then it's like the more you'd hear it, it's like this. It's just so stupid, and I just, I don't know. There's novelty songs, but then it's just there's ones that are just stupid, and I don't know. I just, Bon Scott's awesome. I don't want to hear him just singing some dumbass song like that. So I just choose not to listen to it.
There you go. All right, Ryan.
All right, so I'm going to go with a band that was my favorite band on the planet when I was basically when I got into music up until my early 20s. I think their first decade of work, you put a gun to my head, I'd say it's probably the greatest metal ever written. But then shit kind of went south, and they had a lot of songs I don't like. So narrowing it down to one was difficult. And that band is Slayer. And on September 11th, 2001, I bought this album. I bought God Hates Us All. Now, I'm probably in the minority here. I actually did not hate their 1998 album, Diabolus and Musica. I mean, I think everything that came before it is 8 billion times better. It's no Hell Awaits or Rain and Blood. But I don't know. I didn't hate it. I know one of the things I always notice with them is people always like, Jeff Hanneman, he's the god, and Kerry King's kind of a doofus. But that album was pretty much all Jeff Hanneman. And so if you're going to slag on Diabolus, you kind of got to give Hanneman some shit for that too. But this album ended up being mostly a Kerry King show. I don't know. Diabolus had a darkness to it and like a heaviness. I don't know. I just never really minded it. I always thought it was kind of cool. But this, to me, this just sounded like new metal, which I don't know. I don't know if anybody here's a big new metal fan, but I sure as fuck was not. And given my age, when I was getting into metal and hard rock, that was the thing, right? Everybody was listening to Korn and Slipknot and all that stuff. And I heard this album, and I'm like, man, it just, not every song and not every riff, but there's a lot of parts of this album that just give me that, like, I don't, it's like this groove, this bounce to it. And the fourth song, New Faith, is the one that kind of came to mind. I listened to this album twice today, which was a little challenging. New Faith, I don't know, it just, it starts off with this cool intro, Darkness of Christ. It's like, oh, where are they going? And the first song, Disciple, it's a little goofy, but it's still fast, thrashy, and heavy. Then it comes to God, Said, Death, where it's kind of going off the rails a little bit, but all right, has its moments. And that's a Hanneman song, I believe. And then once New Faith hits, kind of like from the rest of the album, with one or two other exceptions, just, goes off right into the shitter. So, and I know a lot of people that are like, oh, this was a return to form after Diabolus and Music. I'm like, I think you're smoking crack, because that's not true. I think it's much worse than Diabolus and Musica. The only thing I really liked about it was the guitar tone. It did sound heavy. It had a pretty good recording, but and the cover is cool too, with the nails pounded through the Bible, which also was a little bizarre because they stopped writing like satanic lyrics, like their early stuff. That's long gone by this album. So why they choose to put that on the album cover is a bit of a mystery, but I don't know. I'm going with New Faith. Although I could have easily picked half this album, and I think it would have fit in there just fine for among their worst. But that's like the first song on the album. It's just like, So that's going to be my choice. So New Faith by Slayer. And I feel weird talking shit on Slayer because for years they were like my favorite band on the planet. And Nick's choice. Now I gave Nick some shit because I thought Quest for Fire is a great song. But on this one, I agree. So he picked God of Emptiness by Morbid Angel, which is on their third album, Covenant, which is an awesome album. And it's the last track. And I don't know. It's just like kind of like the Rainbow situation, great album. And then the very last track, it's like this boring, kind of repetitive, out of place track. And I'll be honest, when he said that, I usually stop listening to the album before that track even comes on. So I got to agree with him on that. So he picked God of Emptiness by Morbid Angel.
Cool. All right. Mr. Canzoneri, back to you.
Okay, this next one was from an album that ended my relationship with this particular band for a good 5 or 6 years. Ended my innocence as a child and somebody who trusted the bands that he loved. The album is Kiss Unmasked, which besides sucking ass, they didn't take the damn masks off. I bought that fucking album as a young child. I'm like, we're finally going to see. Now's the time. All right. And I tore it open because, it didn't show it on the outside, but Kiss albums are always filled with all kinds of, pieces of paper and whatever. I'm like, I know there's a picture in here. No, there wasn't. And there was a record in there too, and it stunk. And it featured my least favorite Kiss song, which is a song called Shandy or Shandy.
Huge in Australia.
Forever.
In Australia. That's crazy.
Yeah, a huge hit in Australia. And it is, if you bought that single, apparently the B-side was She's So European, which is Gene's lowest moment, right on the other side of Paul's lowest moment, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. That whole album, I just have such bad memories. It's like, ugh. And Shandy, it's like bred in America trying to do some Motown choruses and Paul's singing it all. And he never really abandoned that thing. He always wants to do that. His later stuff through the years, there's always a little bit of this, I'm a serious soul singer and I can do these love songs and make the ladies cry. And it's the only reason you cry is because you spent money to buy this garbage. And I still hate this, what is it now? 42 years later?
Yeah, something like that.
And I'm still angry. I've forgiven Kiss and I listen to him again, but that's one of those things that always comes up. If we were hanging out together, I'd say, guys, come on. So Shandy by Kiss, my second choice.
I self-admittedly love that album. And I think
too.
if you, which it's fine. Like, I think
Rainbow Eyes, you're ready to fucking kill yourself, but Unmasked is okay.
It's a good
What
pop.
the fuck,
It's a good
Holy
pop
shit!
It's a
You
good
like
pop.
it, you like it.
It's a good pop album. God damn it!
if you look at it for what it is, I think that it's not meant to be like which I understand, which for Kiss it's like what the fuck, but like I don't know, I think it's a fun album to listen to. It's definitely not their heaviest or anything, but I mean, like, is that you?
I'm surprised you didn't pick "Easy as It Seems" as a song from that album instead of Shandy. That song, because that has like a funky bass that starts, and I thought maybe you'd go with that one.
Well, I wasn't super sophisticated, and I was like,
or I mean
like rock and roll music.
Now.
Now that song's in my head.
Now
I
it
got
burned me. I can't go back.
It's understood why you like it. It makes sense why you don't like it. Like it's there are reasons. It's not I enjoy it because I like corny melodic shit a lot of the time. But
some things that happen to you in your formative years stick with you forever.
Yeah,
at least me.
It's
I
can hold the grudge until the year 2171 if I have to. So.
Paul Stanley touched you in a bad place in 1980.
You can't see it on the camera.
Show us on this doll where Paul Stanley.
Oh yeah.
Really on Ace up here. It was yeah.
I think I like music from the Elder more than I like Unmasked these days. I wouldn't have
Me
said
too.
that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's I have to think about that one.
Yeah. All right, Chris Allo, back to you.
Okay. Yeah, I know Jamie and Ryan and Nick picked some pretty terrible Iron Maiden songs. And those were good picks. I've always fucking hated "Can I Play with Madness," which was this first single off of Seventh Son. I just think it's poppy and crappy. But the song that I hate even more than that was, I think, the first single off of was it "Fear the Dark." And no prayer, not no prayer for the dying. Yeah, I think it's "Fear of the Dark," and whatever the fuck record it is. It's "Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter."
Oh yes, that was a great
Like,
song.
talk about fucking dreck. Like, Bruce Dickinson admitted that it took him like 3 minutes to write the song, and I didn't pull a Jamie and count how many times he says the word daughter in that fucking song. Bring
A
your
lot.
daughter, touch your daughter, catch your daughter, whatever the fuck your daughter. I mean, somehow this thing went to apparently #1 in the UK. I don't know how that's fucking possible. Like, I guess there's some, no offense, people in the UK, either they were like brain dead or they were just such Iron Maiden fans that had to fucking buy every single, because that song sucks. Thank God, for years Maiden didn't do "Can I Play with Madness," and then they keep fucking bringing it back. Like, the last 15 years, they keep bringing it back over and over again. Thankfully, they haven't done the fucking daughter song in years. And it's from like Nightmare on Elm Street 5, and that movie sucks. So
The last
that was
bit of
my
the song
second
is
pick.
all just "Bring your daughter, bring your
that's
daughter."
it. Bring your daughter, bring your daughter, touch your daughter,
It is.
whatever the fuck
It
your
is from
daughter,
No Prayer for the
over
Dying.
and over. It is
not
no
No
prayer
Prayer.
for the dying. Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, that was my number 2 choice. I almost picked that, but I went with
Oh.
"Angel and the Gambler."
This
because
is
it's
so bad. The song is so bad that I remember WBAB, which I used to listen to a lot in Long Island, which was a really cool rock station. They were doing some kind of fundraiser, and I remember, you could pledge and they would play a song. I remember they wouldn't take it, but I called up and pledged $20 if they would never play that song again during the metal show, Fingers Metal Shop. But they wouldn't take that pledge. But that's how much I hate that song.
That's funny.
Oh, it is pretty bad. It is bad.
Bring your daughter.
All right. So, Deep Purple. Like Craig, there's not a lot of songs from them that I really don't like, except for one. It's from an album that I absolutely love. It's the only shitty song on this album, and it's "Anyone's Daughter" from Fireball. Oof. Now, everybody who watches knows that I hate Bob Dylan, right? To me, this song is like Ian Gillan's homage to Bob Dylan. I don't like the song. It's just this laid back kind of like country bluesy, folky, pub rock type of thing. And Ian's just kind of like talking through the whole thing. Now, I know Ian likes to write lyrics that have a lot to do with stories and real life events, but let me just read the lyrics here to the first verse. "Well, I stood on," and of course, Ian is like talking through the song. "Well, I stood under your bedroom window, throwing up a brick. No one came. I threw one more. That really did the trick. Your daddy came and banged my head. He said, 'What kind of man is this that's hanging around my girl?' Threw me in the car. You're a farmer's daughter. You're a farmer's daughter. Why do I always get the kind of girl I didn't ought to get? I won't get no more eggs and water. Now I've laid the farmer's daughter." What does that all mean?
Sounds dirty. It sounds dirty, Pete.
And he starts talking about, "Give me your hairy bum, I'll put you in my jail." All this kind of nonsense.
What the fuck?
The song makes absolutely no sense. I mean, it's just Ian just kind of playfully doing whatever he's doing.
Big
here.
old
I don't
dumb and
know.
scraggy as your baby's daughter's daddy.
And the
I
song
always
sucks.
liked
It's
that
just-
song.
What's
I always
that?
liked it. I
You
always
like that
liked
song? I know a lot of Deep Purple fans who do. I hate it. I never liked it, and it just.
But he says hairy bum.
Yeah. It says, "Come with me, you hairy bum. I'll put you in my jail." So-
Oh, you hairy bum, like a hair. Okay,
Yeah.
not a hairy.
Yeah, I mean, it gets crazier too as you go through it here. But I don't know. It just the song makes no sense. It doesn't rock at all. It's just this whimsical. Like I said, it reminds me of like him doing a Bob Dylan thing. I hate it. I've always hated it. I love this band to death, but I don't like that song at all. "Anyone's Daughter" from
You know,
Star.
I like Dylan, so
There you go. Yep. So no good. All right, Sydney, back to your final choice of the day.
All right, cool. So, one of my all-time favorite bands, obviously, is one that you guys probably guessed too, is Dokken. Love them very, very much. This is really hard for me because they had such a great run. Those first 4 albums are just, to me, I can't really pick one. But once you get past those albums and you get into the later half of Dokken, they did the whole thing where they split up. Don did his own thing, then they got back together in like 94 and they did Dysfunctional, which was a decent album. It was, kind of like a return to Dokken, but I believe this is the album after that. Shadow Life, the worst album ever. You could pick any song off of this. I'm sorry. It's the one I'm going to pick is a song called Hard to Believe. It's a ballad, and it's just terrible. It's just terrible. This whole album is just terrible. I love this band, but I had even heard things that I don't know if this is true. I think it might be a rumor, but I had heard that like George Lynch purposefully like just played like shit on this, like on purpose, so that like the band could kind of fall apart a little bit. But it was just
collected a paycheck.
Yeah, it's nothing that is at all the appeal of original Dokken. Like there is nothing on this album that screams why they were and are one of my favorite bands. Like it's just like chaotic. Nothing really goes together. A lot of the songs are forgettable. And like I said, I had a hard time picking just one song that I didn't like off of this album. Like I picked Hard to Believe, but you could probably just pick any song. I really just don't like this album. It's just not great. And it's a shame because it's the last like full length record that George Lynch ever played on with Don. After that, he was out of the band. Jeff Pilson came back a couple times, like Reb Beach eventually came in. But it's just, it's a shame that that's kind of the note that original lineup went out on. I wish they would have never made that record and just stayed with Dysfunctional, because that would have been like a, hey, decent back, it's over, whatever. But I really don't like this album. It's a sad excuse for a Dokken album. I'm sorry, but which I don't think I'm going to get a lot of pushback on that because it's just that bad. So
what do you think of like Erase the Slate and all that crap that came afterwards?
I mean, I think that's a decent album, but it's to me a completely different era of the band. Reb Beach played on that. Like I said, Jeff Pilson came back.
Kick-ass album, actually, I think.
Yeah, it was a couple years later, and I think that was kind of like the revival of, especially like the 80s thing that was happening. Like it was starting to like become a little bit popular again. Like by the time Shadow Life came out, it was like the mid to late 90s, and it's like no one really gave a shit about that kind of music at that time. And so like it was like paycheck, our heart's not in it, like whatever. But I think Erase the Slate's pretty decent. That was kind of those Dokken albums in the early 2000s where Don's voice was still Don's voice, I think are pretty good. But Shadow Life was just, which is a shame because it's like when his voice still sounded that good, he kind of could have done something that was kick-ass. But
yeah,
I digress.
That's a terrible album. Cool album cover though, but the rest
terrible
of
album.
No good. All right, Jamie, is it time?
This was hard, man.
I'm sure.
I mean, Pat Benatar is my favorite. And trying to find, I finally get to talk about her on this channel, and it's in a negative way. What the hell, man?
Hope she's not listening.
No, she better not be listening. I love you, honey.
Pat Benatar, line 4.
So, yeah, this is like saying something bad about your mom to me. So I didn't know what direction to go. Because she's done a lot of odds and ends. Like she's done Christmas songs. She's done songs on kids' albums, Marlo Thomas and Friends. She's on a tribute to Edith Piaf. Do I include this? She has a single that came out in 1974 when she worked at a bank.
Really?
Only released in Richmond, Virginia. I think there might be 50 of these in existence. Do I count this?
Look at that.
This is my number one prized possession. There's a fire, I grab it. So no, I'm going off from main albums. None of that at all. And I was thinking of going with Go, her last album, 2003, I believe, because it's one of my least favorite albums. But I was listening to it today. I'm like, it's not that bad. I can't go that route. And I thought, this is the easy route, the blues album, right? So I was like, True Love. This is a lot of people's least favorite. Look how serious she looks on there and the blues. I read a review back in the day. You should hurt to sing the blues. It shouldn't hurt to listen to the blues. That was the review on that. It's not that bad. I listened to that a lot when it came out in the 90s. But I went way back to 1983. And when I got this album, Live from Earth, it has 8 live tracks and 2 studio tracks. One of the studio tracks is Love is a Battlefield. Everybody knows that. The last track, the other studio track, is Lipstick Live. And when I was 13, I would say that's my least favorite song. And all these decades later, I'm still going to stick with Lipstick Lies as my least favorite Pat Benatar song. Not that it's an awful song, Honey Bunch, if you're out there. It's weird calling her Honey Bunch and then comparing her to my mom at the same time. I'm kind of creeping myself out. I got to pick a side there. Do I want her to say bedtime stories to me? Or do I want to, So Lipstick Lies is a... Say it, Chris. What do you want to say?
I'm already confused, but okay. I'm not sure. So you're implying that you would rather screw Pat Benatar than have her sing lullabies to you at night? Is that what?
Can I do both? Can I do both?
Sure, it's okay.
You know what I used to tell people growing up? She was like the cool aunt. The younger aunt, your mom's sister, and it would come over and be fun time.
Right, but the aunt you got a boner for.
Yeah. Maybe she was married into the family.
Cool. Like maybe she'll change after going to the swimming pool and you might see a side boob or something.
Maybe. Yes, something like that.
Okay. All right.
She'd wear the headband.
All right. Anyways.
Neil is going, Pat, you won't believe what they're talking about on Sea of Tranquility.
Oh, no, Pat. We're all, Neil, Geraldo, all just Jess, buddy. Just kidding about Patricia. He calls her Patricia. Just kidding about Patricia. Come on the show someday. I invited you like 7 times on Facebook. You won't answer me. Anyways.
Definitely not going to answer now.
Yeah, now that you admit she's a hot aunt, it's giving you a boner at night.
I love Lipstick Lies. It's my favorite song by Pat Benatar. I love it so much. It's not a bad song. Every song is 5 stars. That's it.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Chris,
5
you
stars.
need to get into comedy, man. I can't.
Oh, that was epic. All right, Craig.
Well, like Ken's, I am also picking a Kiss. And no, it is not Dynasty, a song from Dynasty or from The Elder. I'm going with a song from what lots of people, critics and fans often cite as their favorite album from Kiss, and that is Destroyer. And no, I'm not picking Beth. I actually happen to like that song, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I like Peter Criss's singing voice a lot. I am going with track 4, Great Expectations. And again, that is a symphony of shit. I hate that song.
I sense a trend here.
I played it again. I played it again today just to make sure that my hatred stood firm, and it did. So, and it always bothers me whenever I read things. It's like, oh, this is the best album, but yet they never name that song. They'll name, the rest, almost every other song on this album, but that song for some reason gets a pass.
You don't like songs without percussion.
No. This song actually does have drums.
It doesn't. In my mind, I don't hear it.
Well, and guess what? Since it's a symphony of shit, guess what? It turns up on the Symphony Alive album. And they do a dog shit version of a shit song anyway. and it always bothers me just whenever I hear like critics say, oh, how great this album is, but that song always seems to get a pass. Or when you hear people say, oh, I hate the Gene Simmons solo album, but I'm okay with Great Expectations, which sounds like it would be on this album.
Yeah.
So that's nothing else I can say, just a string arrangement from hell that I hate. And children's choir, and again, it's sandwiched between two good to great songs, God of Thunder, and I mean, even if you flip the side over, on the album, it would be Flaming Youth, which is, track 5 on this, which are great songs. And again, Great Expectations is the turd burger between two buns of steel. So that is my third choice for tonight. Great Expectations.
Got great
Hey,
expectations.
I like it.
We
Yeah.
want to hear you. You got
Let's all do the
great-
choir part together.
Yes, exactly. Everybody. You.
I saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers cover it once.
Really?
It was just like John Frusciante doing the guitar.
Was he
And
high?
I swear, it was at the Meadowlands. I looked around and I swear 20,000, and I hated the fucking concert because I hate the Chili Peppers, but 20,000 people, and I swear I think I was the only guy that recognized that song. Everybody else was just looking into space.
Of all Kiss songs to pick, why would you pick that,
Yeah,
that
it was
awful
just seemed
song?
strange.
Did they funk it up, or was it like?
No, he just, I guess instead of doing a solo, because the other guys wanted to have a drink or a shot or fucking a snort, whatever, they, John Frusciante just pulled out a guitar and just played it and sang it, and it was
They would have been
bizarre.
better off covering Shandy. I think that would have probably got it.
Yeah, or,
You should sing along to that.
but yeah, I always thought that was very strange. I guess he's a Kiss fan. I don't know. But if he's a Kiss fan, apparently he likes the symphonic
He's a
shit
shitty-
bag that is
The string arrangement
Great
from hell.
Expectations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Awful.
Too funny. All right, Ryan.
Ah.
Oh, so this one was tough because I changed my mind like 4 times while we've been doing this show.
We saw you
this-
scampering back there to grab something else.
I know it's one of my favorite bands of all time. They have like, I don't know, they got a lot of albums, and honestly, I've listened to all the. It's not like I had to listen to it for the show because I listen to all their stuff all the time. And I'm like, man, I don't really think they have a bad song. Maybe I'm just a pushover. But the band is Voivod. So I'm going through this selection here. So obviously, a lot of these 80s bands had a rough go in the 90s. They had 2 albums where they lost their bass player and their singer. So they had a guy come in that did both, Eric Forrest, and he recorded the album called Negatron, and he did one called Phobos. And I mean, these are their Blaze Bailey, these are their Ripper Owens albums. No one gives a fuck anymore. They don't play that stuff live anymore. You'd be forgiven for saying that they're worst albums because they are. But I don't know. I don't dislike them. They're kind of like Fear Factory-ish, industrial metal. They're nowhere near as good as the 80s stuff, but they're not bad. I'm listening to them like, do they really have any shitty songs? Not really. So then I went to, in the 2000s, their original guitarist, my favorite guitarist of all time in metal, Piggy, passed away from cancer. So the band did something cool. They before he died, because he knew he was sick for years, he recorded all these demos on his own on his computer, and they took the demos, just guitar demos, and they made full songs out of them. And they did 2 albums that way, which I thought was very cool. So obviously they didn't get a lot of ability to play around with them because whatever he recorded, that was it. One take, they're done. So they did one called 14, French for 14th album, I believe, or nope, my math sucks and my French sucks. So I'll just forget everything I just said. But that album's pretty good. But then they did one more called Infinity, which was on Relapse Records, which was the last stuff he ever did with them. So this is kind of like the last things he ever did. It's the scraps from the previous album. So there's some songs on here that are kind of, whatever. The idea was great that they'd honor the guy by doing this, and they got a new guitarist who's fucking awesome, and they're putting out great albums. They just put out a new great album. They're still kicking ass. So this album is kind of a low point, but it's still, the idea was cool. So I felt shitty picking a song off this because it was done in honor of this great guitarist. So I said, I can't pick that. So the only choice that was left for me was to pick one of their best albums of all time, probably one of my top 10 favorite albums ever. And I'm going to sound like I hate fun for picking this song, but I don't know. And the band obviously has a sense of humor. They've always had a sense of humor. They're cool guys, very easygoing. They're not all like, serious in the back. So it made sense why they would put this on the album. And it wasn't even on the original album. It's only on the later versions. but I have to pick it because it's my only fucking choice left, and it is kind of silly and stupid. And on their fourth album, Dimension Hatros, which I fucking love, perfect album. Every song's great. But the last song, they did a cover of Chris might hate me more than anybody for this. They did a cover of the old Adam West Batman theme song. They covered that.
I don't even remember that.
It doesn't really fit on the album. And I don't even know if it's terrible, but because I'm like, I gotta pick some fucking Voivod song. Like, what do they got that sucks? And I'm like, it doesn't, it's just weird. It doesn't really belong. Obviously, Adam West was the best Batman. I don't think anybody would disagree with that unless you're crazy. Fuck Christian Bale. All right, no, but Adam West was the guy. He was my favorite, you know. But yeah, and the theme song was amazing in the context of the TV show. But I don't know, the metal version tacked on this otherwise amazing, like sci-fi prog thrash album. It's just weird. So I'm going with fucking Batman by Voivod. And you know, I changed my mind like 9 times filming this because I'm like, man, I gotta pick a Voivod song because you know I got that shit tattooed on my arm.
So that's not on the original version, Ryan?
No, it's not on the original vinyl. But I mean, even like the first CD pressing, I think on Noise Records, it showed up pretty early. But like the original first out of the factory version on vinyl, it wasn't on it. So
because I don't remember it. I have to.
Do they stretch it out? Because the theme's only like 60 seconds long.
I actually, you know what, I just checked, and the this version is like a minute at most. Let me see here. Yeah, it's a minute 45. So they stretched it out a little bit, and the Piggy actually does a pretty cool guitar solo to start because he was a great lead guitarist. But yeah, I want to go with that. Peter, are we doing any honorable mentions, or we're going to come back to that? Because I got a good one. We'll come back to that. And so for Nick's pick, he picked a song I've never heard, so I can't comment if it's good or it sucks. The band's My Dying Bride, which is a great doom metal band. Their album Turn Loose the Swans rules. But in the 90s, they put out an album called 34.788%. And the album he picked was called Heroin Chic. And he said it has like this really weird deadpan rapping kind of vocal, which now I have to listen to because I don't associate that band, like the slow, morose English doom metal, with rap vocals. So that was his. And yeah.
All right. Yeah. Never heard that.
Me either, but now I got to listen to it based on his description.
All right. Mr. Canzoneri, back to you.
Okay. This one was actually pretty easy for me. This is a band that went from being one of the original, most creative progressive rock bands ever to a band that just made Phil Collins solo albums and Genesis. And looking back on a lot of that Phil Collins stuff, over the last few years, I've sort of had a kinder eye for a lot of it. But this one song, Illegal Alien, still just pisses me off. It's just, I mean, it's the accent, I think, that gets me. You know, never mind the whole, it's no fun being a legal alien, you know, because, you know, and this like island vibe going on. But he's singing in like this Mexican accent, I guess it's supposed to be, throughout the whole song. And every time I hear it, I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? How did he get away with that? You know, I mean, times were different then than they are now and whatever, but still. That's
it was the 80s, man. You know.
Yeah, but they fucking took the Frito Bandito off of TV fucking years and years before that. And this guy, he's like one step away. And I'm just like, you know, and the song, it's just terrible. And I, you know, those years of my life, I was young then too, and I really developed a really bad feeling for all that pop Genesis, Phil Collins focused music. And I have changed a little on that, but that one song just has remained a bone in my throat for the like whole catalog. It's just like, come on, you know, how could you have gone from Watcher of the Skies to this fucking garbage? So
that would be my favorite Genesis album if it wasn't for that song.
Yeah, that song is terrible.
It's just
so I guess Genesis is not playing that song on their current reunion tour.
They are. When I saw
it might be because it was a huge hit. It was a huge.
I don't think they played it when I saw them.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, man, that song and I Can't Dance. Oof.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Which is worse? Which is worse, Illegal Alien or I Can't Dance?
Oh, Illegal Alien.
That's worse than I Can't Dance.
I don't know. I hate I Can't Dance a lot. I don't know which one I hate more.
They
I agree
did
with you,
I
though.
Can't.
I've gotten a little bit more used to those albums, and there are songs on all those latter albums that I kind of like, but there are songs on those latter albums.
League of Aliens, annoying though.
Oh, it's
It's bad and annoying.
Yeah, it's not good at all.
It's that happy beat, just the ding 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 ding. And was there steel drums in there too, or some sort of synthesized fucking island thing going on? It's like
I think they made a video for it too.
Yeah,
They didn't do it
Yeah,
on the show.
dressed up in a sombrero playing
Yeah, like a
drums.
little
with a
stash.
cucumber.
Yeah, he's got like a stash and
And he's playing drums with a couple of cucumbers or zucchinis or something. Douchebag.
All right, Chris Allo, back to you.
So Sidney, you saw the reunion tour,
Yeah, I did too.
and they didn't do that one though.
No.
They did I Can't Dance. They did not do Illegal Aliens. No.
What were your thoughts on the tour, on the show, just out of curiosity?
I mean, I'm not a huge Genesis fan to begin with, personally. I mean, I enjoy the music, but they've never been one of my all-time favorites. So I got the tickets through work. So I was like, you know what, this might be the last chance I have to see them. So I went and I saw them. And I mean, again, you got to go into it with This Is What It Is, like that kind of. Bill Collins sitting in a rotating chair, he's about like, looks like he's on the verge of death.
But he still had his sense of humor,
No, I mean, he
banter
was-
between
he
songs.
was
and
funny.
stuff.
He still
Yeah.
he sounded decent. I mean, he sound like, it wasn't like, oh God, it was like, 2 hours of like, I can't
It's
stand
sad.
it.
I see Elton
yeah.
John, he sits the whole time too.
Yeah. So I mean, it definitely, I'm not a huge Genesis fan to begin with. So I guess I'm a little, it might be different if I was a bigger fan, but I mean, I think for what it was a decent show.
I had a blast. I thought it was great.
And that was your first time, right, Jamie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you
spent
gotta
the
stay in
big
the
bucks
music.
because, had to do it now.
I saw him in 2007. That was the only time I've seen him, so I was happy I went then. So I wasn't
Yeah.
one of this time.
And on again.
Yeah. All right, Chris Allo, your final pick of the day.
All right, my final pick of the day. Speaking of reunion things, I love this band, and this was their reunion album in early 2005. And I went to the city. The deal was they were doing like a listening party, and you had to get there early because you had to listen to the album from start to finish. And I was there with a few other journalists, maybe like 10 or 12. And the deal was you had to listen to the record first, and then afterwards they would keep the album in rotation. And the publicist Chip, who Pete, he would come out and grab you and send you into the back room to interview one of the guys. So you had to get there early. And I was listening to the record. I got there early to make sure to listen really intently, because then you had to quickly ask the band some questions. And I thought the album was really good. The album was called Angel of Retribution from Judas Priest. And I remember like the band was in the room with all the journalists and everybody's listening, and it was for breakfast. We were having like bagels and donuts. And I remember like eating a fucking bagel while this song Loch Ness comes on. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I remember like looking around and like everybody's, they were serving like champagne and some dude's eating a bagel talking to Rob Halford. I'm like, does nobody fucking hear this song? I mean, it's like 13 minutes about fucking Rob Halford crooning over the fucking Loch Ness Monster. Like, this is garbage. And it just fucking get Loch Ness, confess, just get fucking going on and on and on for like 13 and a half minutes. If you count the intro, it's like 16 minutes. And of course, this was only this, looking back now, this to me, this is like when you see you go to see Star Wars re-released in 1997 with a special edition, and there's that shitty CGI added bullshit with the stupid little robots. Like, okay, so, and you saw it at the time, you were like, okay, whatever, it's cool, I'm seeing Star Wars again in the theater, not realizing in 2 years from now, Phantom Menace is going to come out, and it's going to be all bullshit CGI. The same thing with Angel Retribution. It's a pretty good record, but that last fucking song, Loch Ness, is just garbage. Who knew that the next record, Nostradamus, would be all garbage? So that's my pick. I fucking hate Loch Ness. I hate where the band went. Temporarily, they lost their shit. And yeah, that song is garbage.
I think you can compare
It's a
anything in
symphonic
life to
shit
Star
bag,
Wars.
as my buddy Craig would say.
You could have baked your own bagels in the time that song played.
Oh, it was fucking horrible.
Yeah,
Craig.
harvested the grain and fucking made your own bagels from scratch.
Oh, awful. How the band that did Genocide and Tyrant and Eat Me Alive and 10,000 other fucking smoking great metal tracks. Fucking Loch Ness Monster, just over and over and over again. I'd rather hear about Rob Halford blowing some dude and Eat Me Alive or fucking, Love Bites than this. I fucking hate it. I can't stand it.
And I love the Loch Ness Monster. I love the whole mythology about it and all this kind of, but that song.
But that song is bad.
That doesn't mean you need a song on it.
No, you don't.
I mean, listen, I love Philly cheesesteaks, but I don't need a fucking song about it.
Yeah.
I'd listen to that.
Although, yeah, I'd probably take that over, over other topics.
Maybe that like Muppet band you like, Chris, can do a song on cheesesteaks.
Sure.
I'd totally check that out.
Yeah. All right. My final pick for today. It's from one of my favorite albums of all time, but it's the only song I don't like on the album. I never liked this song. This was a huge hit for the band. And Sydney, I'm going to kind of crush you a little bit here, I think.
Oh God.
But almost every song on this album is just kick-ass, in your face. And then there's this song. And this song, all the ladies love it. They have to play it live every single concert. And usually when they play it live, because I've seen them so many times, I'm like, oh God, here we go again. Is This Love from the Whitesnake album from 1987? Yeah, I don't like Is This Love. I never liked it. It's just sappy and just like, don't like it.
So
It's a turd between buns of steel, as my buddy Craig would
And
say.
it really is, because right after it is Children of the Night, which totally kicks ass, and Give Me All You Love is right before it, which is a really great song. I don't know. I know, Sydney, and I never liked Is This Love. It's just, to me, it's just kind of sappy, and I don't know.
love that I'm feeling.
I don't like the video, it was another excuse to get Tawny in front of the cameras, and I get it. And the video got a gazillion views on MTV, and this was a big hit for them, and blah, blah, blah. But it's not a song by them that I like at all. And
It amazes me that one of your favorite albums of all time can contain a song that you don't like at all.
Yep, it does.
That must mean the rest of it is wow.
Oh yeah, I mean, Crying in the Rain, Bad Boys Still in the Night,
Now, this is a question for you, Pete.
Yes.
Would you rather Here I Go Again or Is This Love?
I'd rather hear Here I Go Again, but I'm really sick of
Okay.
Here I Go Again. I like it as a song a lot. I'm really sick of it. But
Even the hobo version?
Like a hobo, I was born to walk alone.
Like a hobo, I was born to walk alone.
yeah, I know. I think the original's good. The original's really good too. I mean, I think the remake is a little more vibrant and whatnot, but the rest of this album just like completely kicks ass.
It's
To me,
metallic. Those other
it's
songs
really
are
metallic.
really metallic.
To me, like Is This Love was like it's a momentum killer for me. I almost wish it was at the end of the album, because I'd just be like, all right, Don't Turn Away is done. Boop, I can hit stop and I don't have to worry about hearing it. So yeah, I don't know, but never a fan. But it made them a lot of money. It helped make this album the big album that it was, and I get it, and I understand it, but I don't have to like it, and I don't. So there you go. Ryan, you said you had a song you wanted to throw out there?
Yeah, I got one honorable mention I just thought of halfway through. One of my favorite bands. So the early part of their career, I thought all their albums were really great. They never really did stinkers, but starting with this album and this song in particular, it sticks out like a freaking rash. It's so weird. And then after that, it would get worse and worse. And then they became like a total mockery of themselves. So the band is Man of War, and the album's Kings of Metal, and the song is The Warrior's Prayer. And it's the one where it starts off, "Grandfather, tell me
a story."
Oh, all right. Mother. I mean, I know even from the first album, he always had those Joey DeMeo bass solos, which didn't really fit. So they always had those silly tendencies. But with this out, first time I heard that, I was like, I was a teenager. I'm like, what? I don't think I even listened to the whole song for a decade until after I bought the album, because I was like, I can't fucking. That goes on forever. So that's, to me, it's a stretch to classify it as a song, because it's really just a narration. But what the fuck? I just had to throw that out there. And then Man of War kept getting stupider and stupider after that. But now they're just a joke. You know, glory days are long, long behind them.
Long gone, yeah.
Yeah.
I got one.
You got one? Okay.
Yeah. And it's from Led Zeppelin and from Houses of the Holy. And I despise Jamaica.
It's exactly what I was going to say, Craig.
Or Dire Maker, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I hate that song. It just.
I was going to say the crunge.
It sounds. I like that. I like the crunge. No, it just, Robert Plant just sounds like he's constipated on this song because he keeps going, oh. It's just I hate it. And
maybe he's trying to pass a turd through his buns of steel.
That one's surrounded by dancing days and no quarters. So but yeah, awful song. It's probably, and it's the only song I think from their whole catalog that I didn't record digitally like on my phone. I even kept Hot Dog or Stairway to Heaven's a little overplayed, but I despise that song.
Wow.
What song by them I really just can't get into is Going to California.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, I don't know. I never liked it. I know everybody always looks at me like I've got three heads when I say that, but
It's the only song off of 4 that I can still kind of get into, I think.
Really? See, I can listen to Battle of Evermore or When the Levee Breaks or
I can't listen to rock and roll anymore. I've heard
that. I totally can't listen to rock and roll anymore.
Yeah.
My brain just turns off. I hear that song.
Yeah.
Too many fucking times.
So I think with this episode, we're going to keep our viewer, Michael, pretty busy with the takeaways, right? He does a very good job. Hey, Michael, now you probably should answer this in the comments, but how many times do you replay each episode to be able to get the exact quotes that we say on every episode? Because I think it's amazing how you get like 10 or 15 of them every episode. You're probably going to have about 20 for this episode, I think. So look forward to seeing them in the comments tomorrow. So, and just to let everybody know, we will have no Hudson Valley Squares next Monday. I will be at a comedy event, and we were trying to see if we could record it on another night, but our schedules are not going to allow it. So there will be no Hudson Valley Squares next week. But next week's topic, which was going to be for next week, will be in 2 weeks, and that's another 1992 album war. I think we said we've got Alice in Chains going up against Danzig, so that's coming up in 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that. I know you'll all miss us, but we will be back.
Replay this next week.
We could do this. We could totally.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it'll be a repeat episode. There you go. It's what do you call it when the TV networks
syndication?
Reruns, right?
Reruns, sweep season, right, or something like that, right, or whatever it's called now, whatever. So thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We are on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube. All together, all the damn time. We're Sydney Taylor and Jamie Laszlo and Craig Kaminsky, Ryan Scout, Chris Canzaneri, and Chris Allo. I am Pete Pardo. Good night, everybody. Take care.